Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Christian Humanist. I'm Damien. The topic for today is a problem with chastity and virginity, part two. Okay, so in case you didn't see the last video, the problem when it comes to chastity and virginity is not those two concepts or those two realities per se, but rather the emphasis, rather it's the teachings, rather it is the undue emphasis that has been placed on this facet of life, one could say, or reality. Okay, because you're either a virgin or not, or either chastity, of course, is seasonal. It depends on where you're at in your life, what kind of relationship status you have, or what you're doing at that particular point in time. So anyway, the issue when it comes to these two subject matters, these two concepts, these two teachings, which are in many ways integral to the Christian world, in the Catholic world in particular. Okay, what is the problem? Okay, what are we dealing with when it comes to these two subject matters? Okay, so I want to sort of center this topic for today on the keyword distraction. Okay, and when I say distraction, what I'm getting at is that Christianity is a lot of things. Okay, it's about belief in God. It's about the nature of the cosmos. It's about the centrality of Christ. Okay, how God redeems the world through Him. It is about redemption. It's about recognizing the sinful nature of man. It's about recognizing the fallen state of man. It's about knowing why we need God. It's about belief in the teachings. Okay, which are not just about sex. And there are many aspects to Christian life. I mean, it's also a question about purpose. Okay, it's believing that life has meaning, that life has a certain end point, okay, or end goal, so to speak. Okay, it is to believe that what you do matters. Okay, that your choices have effects and consequences, not now, not just in the near future or in the far future, but all the way up to eternity. Okay, presuming you and believing those sort of things. Okay, so my point is, listener, there's a lot to Christianity, okay, or the belief system, okay, than just being chaste or virginal. Okay, and one of the issues which I've sort of come to understand is that the undue emphasis on chastity and virginity, which in my view has come to define, in many ways, it's become characteristic of Christian life. Okay, and as I mentioned in the last video in the intro, whenever someone speaks about Christianity, whenever someone speaks about God, whenever someone speaks about Jesus Christ, immediately the chastity virginity thing gets thrown up. Okay, it's almost predictable. It's almost it's inevitable. Really, it's just become so integral to the Christian worldview. Okay, whenever you have one of these people who call themselves a representative of God, a follower of Christ, a believer in Jesus, whatever, the chastity virginity thing tends to be accompanied. Okay, it tends to be an invariable part of their broader discourse. Okay, it's almost inescapable. Okay, now again, this is not to downplay the significance of the teachings. As I mentioned in the last video, there's nothing particularly wrong with the teachings themselves. I mean, to be chaste, to be virginal. I mean, certainly there's importance there. I mean, of course, speaking of chastity, I mean, if you're a married person, but anyway, but chastity is more of a functional thing when it comes to men because it pertains to what you do. Okay, if you're a guy and if you're planning to be chaste, it implies that you're not pursuing women. You're saving yourself up for your future spouse, or whether that actually materializes or not. So the idea is sort of either integrated, because if you're a guy and if you're not pursuing, if you are being chaste, it means you're not going to be pursuing women. Hence, you're negating the chances of women losing their virginity to you, if that makes sense. If all the guys say, oh, I'm going to commit myself to my future wife, whoever she may be, even if you're not in a relationship at the moment, that automatically contributes to a girl not losing her virginity, if you get my drift. Because after all, as I mentioned in one of my dating videos, or the problem with Catholic dating advice, in case you haven't seen it, passive character of female sexuality, the fact that we men are the instigators, we men are the drivers, and so on. So that's basically the backdrop. But the issue here for us today, when it comes to Christianity more broadly, is that there is more to Christianity as a belief system than just one's chastity and virginity. Okay, there's more to the idea of believing in God, following God, serving God, knowing God, experiencing God, coming to terms with who God is as a being, as a transcendental power, okay, than just being hung up on the particularities, on the fact that whether you're a virgin or not, or whether the fact you as a guy has sort of saved himself up for marriage. I'm not sure that terminology even applies to men. Either way, okay, it doesn't, there's more to the Christian experience than that. And the problem I sense in the Christian world is that there is sort of a almost quasi fanatical obsession with this particular area of life. And going back to the last video, which I would encourage you all to watch, where the tendency to view everything, or the underlying sensibility, okay, that if you're a person of Christ, that you're a follower of Christ, that you have to be chaste and virginal, and or, okay, it's sort of the underlying affirmation that these principles are affirmed, or they are supported, or they are respected, or they are practiced. Okay, that for me seems to sort of, it's understandable, I guess, no doubt. But it's like this, isn't it, guys? I mean, when I say distraction, okay, in life there are many ways you can go wrong. There are many ways to sin. There are many ways to be unfaithful. There are many ways to stray, okay, from the right path. Okay, and the idea of being sexually pure or virginal or being chaste is not the only one. Okay, and it seems to me that in the Christian world, given the dominance of this particular teaching, okay, every other teaching, every other dogma, every other facet of good Christian life, okay, has been sort of relegated to a lower position, okay, to some different strata, okay. It's all about, oh boy, if I'm a Christian, technically it means that I am chaste, or it's assumed almost, okay. If a girl is, being a good Christian, that means she has, I mean, if I would put it bluntly, she has a hymen intact if she's not married. And if she is married, in other words, the only person she's bedding is a husband. Okay, now there's nothing fundamentally wrong with these dogmas, as far as I can see. But the point remains, okay, that alone cannot be it. Okay, that alone cannot be that sort of summarizes or includes all aspects of Christianity. I mean, Christianity is a much broader belief system. It's not just about whether people are able to be faithful and good and pure and moral in that particular realm. Okay, and this is critical, folks, certainly from a perspective, from the perspective of other religions, other monotheistic religions like Islam and Judaism, which, by the way, critically do place a lot of emphasis on these things. Islam in particular, as I mentioned in the last video, and it really places a lot of emphasis on sex, okay, or the lack thereof. Okay, these Islamic societies are gender segregated, and there are severe punishments for any kind of break with the law. I mean, any kind of if you're unfaithful to the commandments, it's not only a religious fault, but it's also a civil crime as well. So so there's a lot to this, and Christianity does not operate along those lines. I mean, in the Western world, we don't punish people for committing fornication. We don't punish people for having premarital intercourse. I mean, or and other things. And there are deep reasons as to why that's the case. Now, of course, you can argue that this is liberalism and secularism and whatnot, but at a deeper level, it's a recognition of our fallen state. Okay, and the idea of trying to constrain human beings into some kind of a puritanical framework of everyone being good or moral, orderly, and essentially ignoring, it seems to me, other aspects of life. Now, again, I'm throwing this out there for the listener to consider. Okay, there is more to life than just being a good person in the sexual realm, certainly from a Christian perspective. Okay, and the Christian leadership are not recognizing this, or they're not placing adequate emphasis on this. Okay, everything seems to be centered on this particular aspect of life. Hence, we see this endless stream of teachers and thinkers and evangelists always getting hung up on the physical question, on the sexual question. Okay, I've already mentioned Bishop Barron. His 4 things that you have to stay away from in life: money, power, pleasure, and honor. Pleasure, as we know, corresponds to sex, and sex, we should not pursue because it's a false promise from the devil. I think, as he once mentioned in one of his videos, I think it was on confirmation. Okay, so we can see again there's this underlying urge to oppose the sexual dimension, to oppose the physical dimension. Okay, and to sort of structure Christianity as a belief system that is inherently opposed to the materialistic, particularly the sexual. Okay, and that's a deeper point for us to consider. Now, again, when I say it's a distraction, okay, why am I bringing this up here? Okay, when it comes to Christianity, folks, there's a lot more to it. There's a lot more going on here. Okay, the idea of living a good Christian life manifests itself at different levels. Okay, so for example, let me just put this point out there for the listener to consider. Okay, let's just say someone is a good person in the sexual realm. Okay, they're chaste or they're virginal. Okay, let's say a girl who is never been out, never gone out with a guy, or never being intimate. Okay, at any level. Okay, forget about her losing her virginity. Let's just say she has had no experience. Okay, none. Okay, not let's look at the extreme. Okay, let's say a girl who's never been on a date. Okay, never gone out, never held a guy's hand. Question is this. Okay, is that person a good person? Okay, is that girl, okay, let's say in this case a female who's never forget about lost her virginity, is chaste. Okay, no contact with a member of the opposite sex or the same sex. So that's a different topic, but is that person good than someone who has had a relationship? Okay, just ask yourself that question. Okay, now of course you and I let's looking at this for what it is from the standpoint of reality. Okay, let's just say you're a guy from the Western world. Okay, from any part of the world really, and if you have dated and if you've been in the space, let's say, right, you wouldn't think just because a girl is going on with someone else, okay, or has had previous experiences, that doesn't make her a bad person, now does it? Okay, but if you look at it from the chastity virginity dynamic, from the chastity virginity dogma, okay, the central dogma that these people are advancing in the Christian world, and by the way, this is central. Okay, this has become so integral to the Christian world. Okay, if you look at it from that perspective, pretty much everyone else who does not fit that mold, who does not fit the framework of, I'm a virgin, okay, I'm a guy and I'm being chaste all my life, hence I'm sort of being ready for marriage, it means all of those people are bad, or they are just inferior morally, or they're away from God, or the God doesn't care about them, or the God doesn't love them. Now, again, that is not asserted, but that is That is the underlying assumption, is it not? Okay, isn't that what's being said here? And it's difficult to really, really process this, because I mean, after all, you and I know. Again, I guess I'm speaking to the layman, or I'm not speaking to the traditional good Christian. Okay, just because a girl doesn't have her, that part intact, just because she has had experience in the past, okay, that doesn't make her any lesser or weaker or unworthy, okay, of love, of fellowship, of brotherhood, or the commitment of a man who wants to have something sincere. Okay, there's something going on here, listener, because by trying to position Christianity as sort of this moralistic belief system that is centered on sexual ethics, okay, on someone, not, being a virgin, or being a virgin and being chaste and whatnot, we're completely losing out on all the other aspects of the faith. Okay, and critically for other people, okay, who are not, who, let's say, disposed towards, living a virginal life or a chaste life. And that's true, by the way, guys. For a lot of people, it's just a characterological thing. Some men have higher libido, some women are more reserved, some girls are, more family oriented, and really this whole chastity virginity thing becomes a distraction. Okay, we're not really getting anywhere. Okay, and it sort of caters to people who have that disposition psychosocially. Okay, and it's true, by the way, because a lot of people, I mean, let's face it, I mean, some women are more open to sex, some women are less open to it, some women are more open to intimacy. That is not just sex, but that could be, more personal and emotional. Some people are not even open to that. I mean, it's not a coincidence, folks, where some people, certainly in developing countries, go for arranged marriages, where they just, get married and then they have all the relationship. And it's kind of curious how these things play out, and clearly there's a psychosocial dimension involved, and for some people it seems to work. Okay, for other people it does not work, and that is an important consideration. So there's a lot going on here, listener, and I just want to sort of throw this out there for you to consider, because when I say it's a distraction from the fallen state of man, from the complexity of man. Okay, to be a good Christian is not just to be virginal or chaste. It's about growing as a person. Okay, and the sinful nature of man would manifest itself in different ways. Again, going back to my sort of a extreme example, it's a sort of I won't say a caricature, but let's say an extreme example of a girl who has had no experience. Okay, not only is she a virgin, but she's had no contact at all with men. Okay, let's not talk about the same-sex part. That's a different subject matter. But even if she has had no experience, no contact, and so on, does that make her a good person? Is that, let's just say, even if she's leading a life of prayer, even if she's leading a life of spiritual faithfulness, whatever, that does not guarantee, or that does not indicate necessarily that the person is good. Okay, that could be something else that's wrong with the person. That could be something else that is screwed up about that person's persona, mindset, worldview, thought process, etc. There are so many variables to consider. Okay, and we cannot reduce the idea of a Christian life, or a good Christian life, to these variables. Okay, of being chaste and being virginal. I mean, let's face it, guys. I mean, people get intimate for a variety of reasons. Okay, and again, that's another topic which I'll get into. That's probably part 3 and 4. But we need to look at this for what it is. Okay, so I want to close this video now. I don't want to take this any further, but just sort of think about this for a second. Okay, is the virginity thing so important? Okay, I mean, the question is, I mean, especially today, let's take an example. Let's just say a girl who, she is not a virgin. Okay, I mean, doesn't she have a relationship with God? Shouldn't she be worthy of it? Shouldn't she have a chance to connect with the divine? I hope the answer is yes. Okay, and for guys as well. I mean, and critically, it's not just about what you've done in the past, but even what you're doing now. Okay, even if you're a guy or a girl who's still, let's just say, not living a good Christian life, who's having premarital intercourse and whatnot, that still should not preclude you from having a connection with God. Okay, it's not some holy law that that automatically excludes people who are not able to live up to this standard. Because critically, and this is the important point, and this is my closing point, even though, particularly those who are living up to the standard, okay, who are chaste and virginal and whatever, let's say women who have, saved themselves up for marriage, and who get, who lose their virginity on their wedding night, let's put it that way, they have other things going on. They could have other demons in the closet. They could have other problems, okay? They could have other issues down the line. Not necessarily, not that I'm hoping that it will be the case, but this is the reality of life, and we should not get hung up on this particular facet of our lives. And critically, by getting hung up on this specific issue, okay, we lose focus of other aspects of Christianity. Okay, what does God have in store for you? Okay, what are God's plans for you? Okay, there's more to life than just this. Again, especially for men, okay, especially for guys, okay, and critically when it comes to men who are aspirational, men who are looking to build themselves up and who are looking to grow. Okay, and we all know, in life, growth is a process. Okay, you got to go out, you got to meet people, you got to do things, you got to make mistakes. Okay, I mean, it's like this, right? I mean, this is not a good example, but it's like the guy who plays around a bit, and he has plays it loose with the ladies, but then he meets a nice girl and he settles down. Okay, how does he get to that stage? Okay, he needs to he needs to have that experience. He needs to have that reference experience. Okay, that's not a fashionable way to put this argument, because it means that you as a guy need to do stuff. But that's how life is. Okay, and yeah, it's complicated, but it is worth considering. Okay, all right, guys. So this is part two of the problem with chastity and virginity. I'm Damien. I'm sweating like hell, guys. Pardon me. I'm the Christian humanist, and see you guys next time.